You know, there was a time when visibility in the LGBT community was a sometime thing. But as our issues have become more and more mainstream, we've started looking at issues of LGBT seniors, gay and gray. Here to talk with us tonight about that, Joel Evans, Director of Development for Openhouse. Joel, welcome.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
You know, I love the name of your organization, Openhouse, because that really is what it is.
It's pregnant with possibilities. Of course, there's a confusion factor. A year ago, I was trying to recruit a realtor to be a table captain for our spring fling. And she picked up the phone. She didn't know me. It was a cold call. She picked up the phone and she said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I'm from Openhouse." She says, "Well, if you have an open house, you have to go through my assistant." And she did. I had to pull her back, slow it down. And when she knew who I was, it couldn't have been nicer.
Right.
She was on board before I knew it.
Right. So to explain to her that it really wasn't about real estate, but in a sense, it is about real estate.
It's about real estate. It's about visibility. Mm-hmm. It's about taking care of our pioneers. It's a big story. It's an epic story. Mm-hmm. And it's really exciting to tell it and share it.
Well, let's go back to the beginning then. Tell us about how Open House was started and what is its mission.
It was started by two intrepid lesbians of this community, Jeanette Gurvich and Marcy Edelman. And they were just utterly in front of the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the community was not really adept, is that the right word? Mm-hmm. They weren't conversant with the vocabulary of aging. This community doesn't really look towards aging. It resists it. And I think they got a lot of doors slammed in their faces for a long time. But slowly it began to build. They accreted allies to them. The organization was founded. They got their first employee some years later.
Now, how long ago was that when Open House itself came into existence?
A dozen years ago.
Just 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you were at the first Spring Fling brunch, which is now celebrated its 10th anniversary as a fundraiser for Open House. Yeah. What interested you in this organization, which at that time was just 2 years old?
I was, as I am now, a capital campaign consultant and manager. And they were interested in doing a capital campaign at the very beginning. Marcy and Jeanette really knew where they wanted to go with this thing. They wanted to go into housing.
They wanted to build housing for LGBT seniors.
They wanted to build housing across the economic spectrum, both on the affordable end and on the sort of middle income end. And they knew that they needed creative financing, so they were looking to professions like fundraising, but they were also looking to the city. And this is how they got to know Pam David, who we are honoring this year, all these years later, with one of our with the Founders Award.
What is the biggest challenge in educating people about the importance for LGBT senior housing?
Well, I think one of the problems is that unless you've gone through helping your own parents age or your dear friends age, and you've really been in the trenches, you don't get it. I think you really have to have that
life experience.
Well said, that life experience, so that you can then flip it over and say, I want to do some good because my community is aging.
Well, do you think it's also a bit about what you were talking about, that as a community, the LGBT world doesn't like to, quote unquote, talk about aging? We seem to always trying to find ways to stay younger. I mean, do you think that's peculiar to gay people?
Well, it seems to be a cultural norm, but if we can help create a desirability of aging, if we can sort of balance the minuses with some well-chosen pros, as it were,
right,
then I think that we can look more courageously at aging.
Right. How big a problem is finding housing across the economic spectrum, as you described it, for LGBT seniors here in San Francisco? I mean, we're talking now about one of the most expensive cities in the world.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Every day we work with groups of LGBT seniors whose hair's on fire. Mm-hmm. They have nowhere to turn. They literally have nowhere to turn. Of course, they can leave the city, they can leave the region, they can go somewhere that's affordable, but they give up who they are. Mm-hmm. You know, being a pioneer for the LGBT movement in this community really sets you apart. It creates a different creature. And now you're saying, I have to go back into the closet. It becomes it brings fairness to a higher notch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And how many people are we talking about here in San Francisco?
There are somewhere between 20 and 25,000 LGBT seniors in the city.
And seniors defined as 60 or older, or 55 or older?
Our program, 60 or older. But of course, 55, we welcome the folks who are a little on the younger side, the younger olders, versus because they have a longer planning horizon. There's more we can do for them.
Now, you talk about our pioneers, people who came here from other parts of the country, other parts of the world to, experience gay San Francisco, to come out.
To be gay San Francisco.
Right, in the 70s and the 80s. Now they're aging. Is there any sort of LGBT senior housing now in San Francisco at all, or will what Open House is talking about doing be the first of its type?
As far as I know, it's the first of its type. On any kind of scale. I have the strong impression that women, more than men, the lesbians, do this informally for themselves. They're more resourceful. They're more. They cluster. There's probably terms of art. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
But they also just manage themselves better than the men do.
Well, and maybe they're not as scared of getting older as we men are. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Now, the place that Open House is talking about building is a physical structure on Laguna Street in San Francisco. You're in the early stages of it now, but how soon, given raising enough money, will we see senior housing for the LGBT community here in San Francisco, and for how many people?
So we're talking about two buildings at the corner, sort of at Waller and Laguna, 110 units, and we are going to break ground in about 5 or 6 months. We are in partnership with Mercy Housing, which is a flawless organization, and they have been putting together, all the pieces that go into the structuring, the finance, working with the city, working with the trades to get the whole thing rolling. And it is just going to be available for move-in within a year, the first building.
Right. So now, is this the beginning of a whole complex? I mean, how much senior housing for LGBTs can the city take? I mean, you said there's 25,000 who need it, and this is going to be 110 units. It sounds like a drop in the bucket.
Well, this is what we call LGBT-friendly or welcoming housing because it accepts public funds, and we cannot discriminate. So any and all people, seniors who meet the financial requirements are welcome to apply for the units. We hope that and plan for it to have a certain density of LGBT residents. Will this set a precedent? Will this be the first of many? We hope so. There was an article in this week's BAR that talked about a proposal to do another 200-unit building in the Castro.
Right. Do you think that now with housing so much on people's minds, I mean all over the country, but certainly here in San Francisco where economic disparity is so great, and with the issue of gay and graying, as I talked about it in the opening, is becoming more and more evident every day, the present company included, do you think that we now have a real moment where the LGBT senior housing issue can really come to the fore? I mean, it's an issue for the mayor, it's an issue for the governor, it's an issue for housing activists. My point is, how much can our issue ride on the coattails of the greater issue for the need for affordable housing?
It also rides on the emergence of the baby boomers, the aging of the baby boomers. So there is I think there is a good moment here. There is a strong popular interest in the subject matter. And there's also this element of fairness, which is still at play. And I think that there are immense challenges to divvying, to reapportioning fairness in this town with all the other economic pressures. But we have to be hopeful, and we have to keep trying.
Now, there are other programs that Open House does besides this project of building some housing. Tell us a little bit about how Open House assists other seniors throughout the community.
So the The building in 55 Laguna will be our new hub. We'll have our offices in one building, and we'll have our activities and programs in the other building. So these programs will radiate across the city. Our vision is to serve something on the order of 10 to 15% of the LGBT older residents within 5 years. We think that's enough purchase to be effective. So if you think of this as a hub and spokes, you have 55 Laguna, which is the hub, but it's nothing without its spokes, right? We really want to serve this much larger community, not just the men and women who are themselves 60 or 70 or 80 or 90, but the people who love them and care for them, the economic interests. There's an enormous industry built around senior care, of course.
Right.
And one of our biggest initiatives is to train the people who work with seniors as professionals so that they understand that there may indeed be gays and lesbians under their wing who are uncomfortable coming out and uncomfortable being themselves.
Is what Open House is doing enough soon enough? I mean, are we every year up against more people who need to?
Oh, absolutely. There's it's a tsunami that's descending on us. And we are just one very able organization that has a vision and has a lot going for it and a lot of allies, but we really need every single ally to also work through their networks so that it really, the amplitude arcs up.
Right. In our last few minutes, talk to me about this event, the 10th anniversary Spring Fling, which is the main fundraiser for Open House.
Yeah.
We all get invitations to a lot of things in the gay community, and they're usually black tie or a street fair or something else. Why a brunch?
Well, originally it's because it was cheaper than a dinner. I went to the first one. It was a lovely Japanese restaurant in the Castro. Beautiful feeling for it, and it's kept some of that feeling. It's kept some of that congeniality and ease, I'm glad to say, even though we've now moved to the Four Seasons, and we are expecting something on the order of 500 people this year. So how do we keep that feeling of community and ease? Well, we keep it casual. We keep the lunch delicious. I mean, the kitchen at the Four Seasons is really magnificent. We're honoring 2 standout community leaders this year, and that's all very exciting.
In our last couple of seconds, tell me what you would say to someone, gay man, lesbian, member of the transgender or bisexual community that calls Open House and says, you know, I'm 65, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my housing. What do I do?
Come on in. Let's hear your story. Let's see if you need companionship. Let's see if you need financial planning. Let's see if you need housing counsel. Let's see if you need any sort of stabilizers for your life to make you happier, to make you more gay, make you more yourself, and to keep you that way.
So to keep you gay, gray, and happy and secure.
It's important.
Thank you for speaking with us. That was Joel Evans from Open House. Next up, our conversation with one of this year's honorees for the Open House 10th Anniversary Spring Fling, Pam David. We'll be right back.